So we've talked a whole lot about how that Donald Trump and Maga just loves to gaslight. I've had several people reach out to me and say, Brando, what do you mean when you say gaslighting? Well, gaslighting is whenever someone tries to convince you that you didn't really see what you think you saw, or you didn't really hear what you think you heard. And they will cause you to question your own sanity till pretty soon you just join their ranks. Well, I stumbled across this interview where Steve Bannon is talking with Boebert, and I said to myself, this is a perfect example of what I mean when we talk about gaslighting. We all saw the State of the Union address. We all know what Joe Biden said. But if you heard Boebert and Steve Bannon explain that speech, they saw and heard something totally different, and they're feeding it back to their crowd. Let's take a look at this first clip and then come back and talk more about this.
You know, every topic that he transitioned into, there was no natural pause. It was just straight into this. And he's like, we're going to kill all the babies, and abortion is wonderful and it needs to be on demand. And, you know, and then he just jumps right into Ukraine or whatever. You know, I mean, it's the transitions were out of this world. But you see towards the end, that's when he starts leaning in. He starts whispering to the crowd, well, guess what? We're not going to do it. And then
I'm afraid he's going to turn and start sniffing heads. That's when I get worried, right?
Yes, I was not close enough for that.
So for those of you that actually saw the State of the Union address, where did Joe Biden say, let's kill all the babies? Where did he say abortion is wonderful? Where did he say that abortion should just be on demand? He never said any of those things. But they know if they say that and repeat that back to their cult, they will eat it up and they will go to work and they'll sit around the loading docks, they'll sit around the break room and they'll talk about, hey, did you see how Biden wanted to kill the babies? That's ridiculous, man. That's the way they gaslight. And then they always come in at the end with a sick joke about how Joe Biden's going to turn around and sniff somebody, and that plays right in to MAGA and their world. That's the only kind of juvenile behavior they understand. They don't understand facts. They don't understand evidence. And so the only thing they can combat you with is insults and sick jokes. And that's pretty much all they had there. But now we're going to roll a clip where they talk about the Marine's dad who had the outburst and had to be removed from the State of the Union. And again, Steve Bannon and Boebert was watching a completely different speech. Take a look at this.
One thing about appropriateness, the father of the fallen Marine, he got worked up.
Yes.
Right? He got worked up because there was Biden, no mention, nothing like that. He got worked up. He shouted out. Do you think it was an overreaction to actually handcuff him and arrest him, drag him out of there?
I mean, I think that is their protocol, but you know, gosh, my heart goes out to his family. I mean, look, I was angry and had an outburst over the same life lost just a couple of years ago in the State of the Union when Joe Biden was refusing.
I remember you stood up.
Yes, when he refused to acknowledge our 13 service members that were killed by his disastrous withdrawal, his surrender. So I shouted out to remind him of that. But I can't even imagine that father's pain and anguish that he lives with every single day, and to be in the same room with the man who's responsible for the death of his son, and to keep that in, I mean, that would be near impossible to do.
Notice how quick she was to get compassionate. Oh, yes, we must talk about this man who lost his son. We must talk about this. A few seconds ago, she was sitting there laughing at sick jokes. Now suddenly she's going to be compassionate about it. I am truly sorry that this man lost his son. I really am. And I don't think anything should happen to the man for having an outburst. I really don't. But they use these type of things as political weapons against Joe Biden. Anything they can grab and latch onto to weaponize it against Joe Biden. It doesn't matter if it's a Marine's death. It doesn't matter if it's a college student out for a jog. They will try their best to find a way to pick that one story out and act like that everything happens is Joe Biden's fault. And the gall to sit there and say, you know, Joe Biden's responsible for that man. And she won't stand up for not one woman across this country who's had to flee states to get reproductive care. She won't stand up for one woman who has been impregnated by rape. You'll never hear her say nothing about those things. She picks out these stories that she knows will tug at the heartstrings of MAGA, and she will be able to continue to gaslight them. Now, if you really want to see a clip, this one here is pretty mind-numbing, because they start talking about the point in the speech where Joe Biden addressed the Supreme Court. And again, Bobo and Bannon saw something completely different than the rest of us. Roll this clip.
Something that happened that was unprecedented last night. It's never happened in the history of this country. A sitting president, illegitimate as he is, directly attacked the Supreme Court.
Yes,
to
he
their
threatened
face.
them.
He threatened the Supreme
Yes.
Court. Walk me through that. What was it like in the room?
Well, I mean, it was bizarre. I mean, are you more with Zelensky or are you for America? Like, I don't understand, because like, straight into Ukraine, he did go directly to our justices and threaten them. And this is following up a 9-0 ruling by the Supreme Court to keep President Trump on the ballot. Colorado tried to remove him from the ballot, and this is following up that ruling that he looks directly at them and threatens them and saying women have the right to vote. And you're going to find out, well, goodness, I think it's been over 100 years since we've had the right to vote. Is women's suffrage over yet?
So he has to start off by saying that Joe Biden is an illegitimate president. He has to drive that point home, has to drive that talking point home to MAGA. And then they say that Joe Biden threatened the Supreme Court. This has never happened before. We've never seen anything like this. Oh my God, what was it like in the room? He threatened the Supreme Court to their faces. Folks, Joe Biden did not threaten the Supreme Court. He simply reminded them what they did when they overturned Roe versus Wade, and he reminded them that women were going to be voting. That's what he did. And then Lauren Boebert sitting there like, yeah, like we don't have the right to vote. We've had the right to vote for years. Lauren Boebert has took part in driving women back 100 years. She has done her part turning this country into the handmaid's tale. And they sit there and they show you this stuff and they react to this stuff. And it's not what really happened. But it resonates with their voters because their voters are ill-informed, their voters are uneducated, and they love the poorly educated, and they can capitalize on that. And I know that it kind of sounds a little condescending to say it that way, but they are absolutely cashing in on the most gullible people that there is. People that won't look no further into it than what they hear Bobo and Bannon say. That's as far as they'll go with it. They won't question it any further, and if they do their own research, that means when they say do your own research, what they mean is keep scrolling until you find a headline that fits the preconceived notion that you already had in your head. That's them doing their research. But boy, Bobo and Bannon absolutely ends this one on a real banger. I saved the best for last, and well, they did too for that matter, because Lauren Boebert says that to MAGA, yeah, Bannon is a god. Check this out.
I got to give a shout out to the posse here. So Steve Bannon is loved all throughout America. I travel all the states and I hear about you. But in eastern Colorado, you are their superstar. Maybe you're their god with a little G. So everywhere that I go, I hear from the posse and they're so excited for everything that you're doing. So they're going to be excited to see out there.
We're going to plan it. It's a full day. We're going to have.
Once upon a time, conservatives, who invented cancel culture, by the way, they really got mad and tried to cancel one of the most popular bands in the world by the name of the Beatles. Remember when John Lennon made the comment about we're bigger than Jesus? Hell, they had the KKK show up at their shows and burn crosses. They had death threats. They had their albums burned in the streets. Conservatives was ready to crucify John Lennon, and they never really fully forgave him for saying that. And yet she sits there and says it, and they'll laugh. Well, yeah, he's God with a little G. Steve Bannon? If Steve Bannon is your God, even with a little G, I would really hate to see what your devil is. I would really hate to see that. That has got to be one of the most ridiculous things. And again, evangelicals will just let her say stuff like that. They'll give her a pass. Yeah, he's their God with a little G. And they'll completely overlook, thou shalt have no other gods before me, thou shalt not worship any graven image. They'll look all past that because they are worshiping the graven images of MAGA. They are worshiping the God of Trump. And that's what they are. And they will sit there and they will continue to try to gaslight and tell you, you did not hear what you think you heard. You did not see what you think you saw. Here's what really happened. But what you have to do is you have to keep your eyes open and realize you're not insane. You're not crazy, okay? These people are gaslighting you. Sometimes you have to go into these things and say, hold on a minute, wait. I know I'm not that stupid. I know what I saw. And just let them do it. There's always going to be an audience that's going to buy it. But hopefully in time, I'm trying to be an optimist here. I'm really trying to be an optimist. Hopefully in time, this stupidity will start to dwindle away. I know I don't sound like I got much faith, but hopefully in time, it will start to dwindle away and we will see more voices of reason coming forward and shouting this stuff down, because that's what we have to do. If you have a voice of reason inside you, you have to use it. Right now is the most crucial time. I see people all the time say, well, I don't want to talk politics because politics is too divisive. I don't want to get too divisive. I don't give a damn if I'm divisive. I don't care. I don't care if someone's not my friend anymore. I don't care if someone never listens to a song I wrote again. I do not care, because I truly feel we're on the right side of history. I feel like we're on the right fight for democracy, and we refuse to be gaslit.